Hello everyone, welcome to the intro video for my 1974 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. I bought this, it's February right now. You can see the snow. I bought this last summer from a fella up in the Colorado mountains and drove it around for a bit, and now probably going to be starting, I shouldn't say probably, now I'm going to be starting the whole restoration process. Sorry for the background noise, I live on a busy street. It was working when I bought it, and when I say it was working, I mean I drove it home. Brakes were great, steering was fine, the engine was fine. It was up in the mountains, and it had never been jetted properly for the mountains, I don't think. I'm down in the Denver area, so about a 3,000 or 4,000 foot altitude change. And it was running pretty rich, but it still ran just fine. And I guess rich is better than too lean with an air-cooled engine. And like I said, the brakes were fine. Rust was minimal. I did have to do some work. I'll just get a little closer. Obviously right now I have some things taken off, and this is the first video that I've made, even though I've been working steadily on it since I got it, little by little. And let's take a closer look. The biggest thing that I had to do was patch one of the floor pans. And that's actually the new part right there. You can see it's just some crud. You can see where I used some seam sealer over the weld. That was my first experience TIG welding, and it ended up being a bigger patch than it looked at first, which I think is what a lot of people find out. You go down there and you start taking out the rusted area, and you realize that the rust is much worse than you had originally thought. I'm trying to move the seat up. So bought a patch panel and patched it up as best as I could, TIG welded it as best as I could. There was still quite a bit of rust around the edges, so I had quite a few blowouts. And when I finally finished, there were pinholes. The weld was solid, but there were pinholes still, so I threw some seam sealer on top of it. And the idea is that I'm gonna sand that seam sealer down, really make it nice and smooth, and then paint everything when the body's off. The other side, I've pulled up the carpet, can't see it here, just to check it, and there is some rust from rain getting in on the sides. There were gaps in the windows, but the rust isn't bad. It's not rusted completely through, and I was thinking I would probably put some epoxy down or something to maybe just strengthen up those rusted areas. You know, I'll do my research. Maybe pour 15 and then some epoxy over it just to smooth it out, make it look nice. At any rate, the interior is fairly original. I'm pretty sure, and it's not great. It's dirty. It's got the original carpeting, which is pulling up in places, and I'm sure that if I ran it through a washing machine, it would probably just come apart. I don't know if the seats are original. To me, they look like they're in too good a shape to be original. They're not perfect. They are torn in a couple places, right there, but maybe they're original. The previous owner told me that they were, but I've come to find that certain things weren't, like the dashboard, which I just took out the other day. Come out to the top front here. I don't know, maybe somebody online can tell me. Does this look like the original one? It looks like it's injection molded to me. Usually it's got that kind of yellow orangish foam filler inside, and then it cracks. This one has no cracks in it, which is fantastic, but that also kind of makes me think that it wasn't original. I feel like every single one of these cracks over time. especially now being 47 years old. And this was a Texas car, so it got hot. So other than the seats, rust is really minimal. And there's a little bit of rust. There's a part of the passenger side door that I just took off last weekend that has some rust, and I'll show you that later. It's down in the basement right now. I took it off. But underneath, inside the fenders, and I'm not going to go too in depth because it's hard to see in the video. In fact, let me go get a flashlight. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So I'm just shining the flashlight under there, and you can see, and sorry for the noise, you can see it. This is all solid. All underneath. The rocker panels are solid. The doors, which I'll show later, are in great shape. And they had this thing undercoated, I believe. I don't think the undercoats, and again, somebody can correct me, I'm pretty sure, let me get this under here. I'm pretty sure that this undercoating is not original, but the previous owner, he knew that. He knew that, you know, these things rust. And so they put some undercoating on it, and I'm pretty sure that saved a lot of the metal. So, like I said, I drove it home. Mechanically, it was great. The engine ran fine. Things that were of concern immediately were pretty minor. There was a lot of gas smell inside the cabin, and I had to replace some of the breather hoses in the filler, in the gas filler, in order to basically every time I made a left-hand turn, the fuel would slosh in the gas tank, go into the filler tube, and then just leak out of the breather hoses, and that stunk to high heaven. I had a nice little buzz by the time I got home on that first drive. The dash, so I took the top of the dash off, and then the front part of this plastic is just crunchy and crispy. And I started pulling that off last weekend, but I have to really just get it through the frunk part. Here's a part so this under part, I have not been able to find this anywhere, a replacement for this. So you can see it got, water damage or whatever, and then it just fell off right here. It's probably supposed to go all the way out to the edge. But if anybody knows where this part comes from, or if you can get a replacement, that would be fantastic. I would love to know. And of course, I'll be doing my own research. Did patch up. There was originally air conditioning, and I don't know if that was original to the car or if it was added on later. I feel like it might have been added on later, but there were hoses going from the front, and then under the passenger side wheel well was part of it, was installed into the sheet metal, and they had hose clips just screwed into the sheet metal. And there are quite a few more running down the body, down towards the engine compartment, that I'm going to either weld or just use seam sealer or Bondo. I'll probably get criticized for not just welding every little thing, and perhaps I will. I might just go out and buy a MIG welder. TIG is fantastic, but it was not easy to get that done, especially in some of the weird positions that I had to get into. So right now I just put some seam sealer on that, and of course that's going to stop anything coming through. And there's nothing structural about a tiny little 1/8 hole. So might come to the rear here. I've already taken out the tail lights and the headlights. One thing that was funny about this is that just about everywhere where there wasn't where there was a hiding spot, there were mud wasp nests, which was pretty funny. So every time I crack open a new part, I end up finding our mud wasp nests. They're dead. It's a little too cold for them to live here. So let me open the deck lid and have a look at that. There we go. All right. So 1600cc engine. The engine is maybe 10 or 15 years old. The fellow that I bought it used this as a daily driver for a while. So I've done quite a bit. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit. Done plenty of the engine. I've cleaned it up first of all. The oil splattered everywhere. Carburetor is in a 34 pick 3, and I did rebuild that. I took it apart, which was a lot easier. I had never rebuilt a carburetor before, so that was a really great experience. I got one of the rebuild kits from J-Bugs, I think, and took everything apart, cleaned it all up with brake clean, which, by the way, be really careful with that stuff. I had gloves on. It was getting all over the gloves. About 20 minutes into it, my my hands really started hurting. And I had never worked with brake clean before, so I think in the future I will double glove and make sure I get as little as possible on my hands. But anyway, it does clean, which is fantastic. And I reduced the jets. I think I had the main jet was 127 and a half. And I think I put that down to 122 and a half. Up here we're about 6,000 feet. So, we don't need it. We can use a leaner mix. Had to adjust the automatic choke here for every single season. Alternator works fine. Distributor cap is fine. I think this has the electronic ignition in it, which is awesome. I don't have to adjust the points. I don't know if the ignition coil itself is original. Fuel pump is new. That crapped out a couple months after I got the car. And again, I think it was sitting for a while, and the diaphragms in these, I think, can crack. So no suction. So, but again, that was $16 maybe, $17 for a new fuel pump. Worked perfectly. I replaced some of the hoses because they were cracked and dripping, and that's terrible. There is a fuel filter, and it's in the right place. It's down in the wheel well, rear driver's side wheel well. And I know that a lot of times they installed it right over the engine, or right inside the engine compartment, right here, and that caused a lot of bugs and Ghias and whatever, air-cooled engines to catch on fire because the hoses would come out and then it would spray gas all over a nice hot engine, and you don't have a VW anymore, which is a real shame. So yeah, if you're getting one of these and they do have the fuel filter in the engine bay, engine compartment, do yourself a favor, reroute it, and clip it down in the wheel well so it's not near anything hot. What else? I haven't changed the fan belt, which actually, now that I look at it, probably should be fixed or replaced. It's cracking a little bit. I don't have a replacement, but I'm not going to be driving it really anymore. And the original oil bath air filter, which I haven't cleaned yet either, but it seems to be doing okay. I'd like to hear your opinions on that. I hear that, well, the oil bath works, so don't worry about it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's guaranteed that an air filter is going to filter out less. It's objectively, a paper filter is going to filter out less than something that's made of a mesh, lets more dust through. And but I'd love to hear your opinions. I mean, it's great to have it stock. I do love that. And if it stays stock and it runs for 50,000 miles, I don't know if that's normal, then great. What else? Basically, the only thing that I haven't checked is the compression. I did adjust the valves, and while I was down there, one of the oil leaks where the valve cover gaskets, I should say, and it turns out the original valve covers were dinged and bent, maybe from rocks being kicked up underneath. So I had to get new valve covers. They weren't really expensive. I still have the original ones. But between the new valve covers on the bottom and the valve cover gaskets, that fixed that leak really, really well. And again, while I was checking everything, the only thing I haven't checked is the compression. And at this point, I don't even really care because I'm going to be taking the body off this. That's kind of where I'm going now. I thought maybe I'd drive it around for a while more, but I just kept getting more oil leaks, and that just bugged the hell out of me. So instead of driving it around and kind of enjoying it, I just kind of threw up my hands and said, all right, I've replaced the oil, replaced all the gaskets around the oil filler, and replaced the valve cover gaskets. I still have leaks, so if I'm going to take the whole engine out, I may as well just make this thing pretty. Let me see if I can show you underneath here. So there's we got down to the negative degrees in Fahrenheit here. Whole country, this is 2021. Whole country got pretty cold this year, especially down in Texas. Those poor guys with the cold temperatures. But I noticed that when the temperatures went below 0 Fahrenheit, I started getting this massive drip at the bottom, which makes sense, Cold shrinks everything, including metal, and something opened up, which I haven't looked at, and just started dripping nice fresh oil all over the place. Again, that's one of the reasons that I just decided to do the whole thing. You see, it's still dripping. No big deal. Battery's relatively new, but those are easy to find. So why don't we go up to the front? Now here's another thing that I fixed. The original glove box was still here, but it was made out of that paperish cardboard whatever material, and it wasn't really a glove box. It was not a third of a glove box is what was left, and all broken up. So I bought one of these plastic ones, and again, I did this work before I was ready to do the whole restoration, and that, this is where the trunk bonnet, I don't know, opener is. So there we go. Good girl. Yep, I know. A bunch of stuff just fell. I got this bike hanging here right above my head. I'm always bumping my head on it. That's gonna have to find a new home, I think. Let's see. So in here, spare. Don't know if that's original, but we got the spare. That's good. The other tires on the outside, only about 3 or 4 years old. They got so much tread life left in them. It's fantastic. No problems there. Got the original. Well, this is for the gas fumes, I believe. I think fumes from the gas tank end up going through this, and the engine ends up sucking the air in. It's actually disconnected from the engine, so it's not doing anything except probably just letting the fumes go to the atmosphere and stinking it up in here. You can see down here, that's one of the hoses I replaced with not original braided hose. I just went to the local auto parts store and got some hose. There's some holes here underneath from something, I'm not sure. So I'll be patching those up or welding them up. One or the other, we'll see what you guys think. Right here, there was a hole here cut into the sheet metal, and that was not for the air conditioning. I have no idea what it was for, but I did weld that up. So you can see I welded it up as best as I could. I had to shape the sheet metal, and I only had rudimentary tools, so I just cold shaped it with a hammer on a vise, or a bench vise / anvil. Welded it in as best I could, then used seam seal around the edges, because reiterate that TIG welding was not my forte. I don't do it for a living, and yeah, it's fantastic. And those guys that I've watched the videos on YouTube, and they're just really great at it. Takes a lot of practice though, and as I was able to TIG a few of the holes here pretty easily. They were just some pinholes, not pinholes, but screw holes. Windshield wipers are original. Radio is not. Let me adjust this thing real quick. There we go. So we get the brake fluid reservoir right here. Radio, not an original radio. Kenwood didn't work when I got it, which is pretty funny. You know, so many other things work on here, but the radio that was not original didn't work. Big spaghetti mess of wires. That'll get cleaned up. Speedometer works. I don't know how accurate it is. Previous owner said it runs about 7 miles per hour slow, but I haven't gone side by side with anybody and tested that out. The clock inside in the dash, and that doesn't work, but I swear when the battery is charged, I can hear it clicking away. So there might just be a stripped gear in there. That's back there. There is rust in here. It's pretty much surface rust. I'm not really concerned about it. I've tried to poke through it and I can't go through it. The nozzle up there, the nozzle for the window washer was missing. So rain was just coming down in here and just causing it to rust. But even below here, I've taken the gas tank out, and below there it's pretty clean. I took the gas tank out already at one point in time to clean it out, because before I realized it was the fuel pump that was bad, I thought maybe there was something clogging the lines. And there was stuff in there, because there were some tree leaves in the gas tank. And I threw some screws in there, a whole bunch of nuts and bolts, and shook it out. It was a little rusty, but not bad, so I'll be able to salvage it when I take it out again. Give it a nice paint job on the outside here in order to make it look good for the restoration. And did have all the carpet. There's basically all the carpet so far that I've torn out of this thing, and it wasn't in good shape. There were some new throw mats that were put on top of it, but all the old stuff it's got to be replaced. Here's the original door panels, or at least the ones that came with the car. The wood on the back has had water damage, so you can see it's there, right there. You can see it's warped, and they drilled holes. Previous owners drilled holes in order to put speakers in, and that caused it to sag. So these will just get replaced completely in the future. I'm not sure if I'm going to make them myself yet or just buy them. I might just buy them. So let's see. Front. Again, nose cone. Solid. The magnetic light I got there. Solid metal. So it's got road rock dings, but it's not damaged, which is fantastic. Took the headlights out recently. Again, just starting to take this thing apart little by little. The front vents. Front bumper's in really good shape. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Whereas the rear bumper, which I already took off, it's in bad shape. I'll have to replace it. And I don't know if I can replace just one, or I'm going to have to get a full set. I know there are sets out there these days that are 100% stainless steel, and that's great. That's just going to last a long time. All the lights work. The headlights, taillights, brake lights, turn signals, they all worked. So that's good stuff. So that means wiring is good. I don't know if I'll have to replace the wiring. I did replace this gasket here, or this rubber seal, just because I had air flowing through and going into when I was driving. So, but this is fine. This will just pull right out. And when I'm finished, I can reuse it. I try to reuse as much as possible. And new seals for the entire car run about $1,000, which in the grand scheme of things really isn't bad. And there are quite a few things I'm going to have to buy. Like, do I make seat covers using these as a template or just buy new ones? Well, there's actually a really great shop company out here in the Denver area. I'll get their names some other time. I'd love to give them any more business. That apparently they do fantastic custom interiors. So I might just get a whole set from them. Just carpets, everything. I plan on putting in a new old radio. You can get period correct looking radios, and from certain companies. I'll just throw out the name J-Bugs. I've gone to them for so many things. They're just great. So I'll get one of those and probably get one with Bluetooth so that I can listen to music on the way in. Other plans are using a insulated rubberized coating on everything that I can. It's not a horrendously loud vehicle because of the engine, but it is loud. And if I'm going to do a restoration, I want to be able to drive this thing for long distances without really getting fatigued from the sound. And done some research, so we'll see what happens in the future with that. But basically, found 3M has one, their trusted name. Used kind of rubberized sound and insulating coating. So be putting that inside and outside, maybe under the wheel wells, to reduce road noise and engine noise as much as possible. Transmission. It works, but shifting up is great. Downshifting into second or first always causes a grind. And from what I've read, I have no experience with transmissions, manual transmissions. What I mean, I've driven them my whole life, but I've never done any work on them. But from what I've read, it's the synchronizers that maybe are bad, or one synchronizer for first and second. So what happens there? I don't know. Do I just buy a completely rebuilt transmission, which are available, or do I get this one repaired? And I'll do a cost-benefit analysis. It's probably not the original one in here anyway. Maybe it is. If it's the original one here, it would be great to just have it rebuilt. If it's not original, then it doesn't matter. I'll just swap it out and send in this one as a core and get a new one. The heat works. And when I say the heat works, it means the vents and valves all work. And let's go around to the driver's side. Oh, they've been wanting to see this part, huh? So there's... all the instruments look nice and clean. All the knobs are there. I did replace, let's see, these guys. They were just, the plastic inserts were broken, cracked and broken and just falling apart. So replace those. There's like, $1 or $2. Again, J-Bugs, fantastic. Clock's been there the whole time. The odometer does not work at all. It's just sitting there. So that might be something I fix too. But it doesn't matter. The vehicle's old enough that when you register it, they don't care. Kind of realize it. And a little more at the body. There are no major dents anywhere, which is great. And surface rust, some in certain areas. Really not bad. Even underneath this door molding, I don't know what you call this. Nothing. Moving back, this has been primed. I don't know if there was maybe a dent here at some point. I'm guessing yes, but on the other side, you can't really see anything, but it was all primed, and then the previous owner just ran out of time or money or both. Never got it fixed. The back, I don't know, you probably can't see this. That orange peel here. So it looks like, while I think the rest of the car has its original paint, yeah, you can see it in the video right here. they repainted the back, just the back at some point, and really didn't do a good job. So that's all orange peel. That's all going to come off anyway. Yeah, engine compartment, rust underneath the battery, totally normal, but not rusted through. So when that comes out, we'll do some restoration there. You don't have to worry about it. Original pipes, they sound great. When I say they sound great, they have the Volkswagen chirp, which for those of us that are old enough when these were on the road more, and not even the Karmann Ghias, but mostly the Beetles is what I saw. I just love the sound of it. It was great. Okay, along the passenger side, yeah, we got a little ding. Let's see. Can you see it? It's a little one right there. And I'm going to try my hand with a hammer and dolly, maybe try to ping that out, but if not, then, you know, it's just going to be body filler. There's a little bit of rust here at the bottom of this, of the rear window, but that's surface. That doesn't go all the way through. So that's good. Again, some other rust spots, but again, they're not all the way through. I'll show you the door, one of the doors, the rust that I talked about. There you go. Don't we just love that? Brief history of the Karmann Ghia. For those who don't know, Volkswagen badged, yes. Designed by Italian coachmaker Ghia, of which still exists, I think, as a subsidiary or a small company of some other larger Italian car maker these days. I don't know how much design work they still do. So anyway, it was designed by Ghia, and then the body was made by Karmann, which was a coach builder, German. So it's a German-Italian, the body built by Karmann, designed by Italian designer Ghia, running on, for all intents and purposes, a Volkswagen Beetle drivetrain. Pretty much identical mechanicals, engine, brakes. Suspension's probably a little different. And the chassis is almost the same, but the chassis on the Ghia, I think, is a little bit wider. And I'm pretty sure the Ghia shares the same chassis as the Thing. So it was a great little collaboration between those companies, and it obviously worked. They made these from 1955 to 1974, almost 20 years with pretty much the same design, minor body styling differences over the years, and I can go into that some other time. A lot of it just to deal with highway standards. And in 1974, I think Volkswagen released the Scirocco, which, quote, replaced the Ghia, but really the air-cooled engine was just, its time was over. These things stink. They pollute. I don't feel great about driving it around sometimes. It's not good for the environment, but it's a piece of history. I think that's all I have for now. Let's go take a look at that one door, and I'll just show you that. All right, down in the basement, and we got the doors here, already taken off. As you can see, there's some repair that happened there. I'm not exactly sure what. I'll take a look on the inside for you. I never actually really looked to see if it's dented. I don't think it is. Took the windows out and all the hardware for the mechanisms. I can't wait to get those cleaned up. This is the driver's side door. Let me just lay this down. So up here is where that repair is, and maybe I think it was just all scratches or maybe minor dings, because this looks great. One question I have is, there's this, you see that pattern, not that. There's something was sprayed in here, and I don't know if that was original. I'm assuming it was sound deadening spray, some type of sound deadening. Yeah, it's pretty hard. I don't know if that was original or what, and I want to take that off, because when these doors get redone, I'm gonna spray and insulate them so that it doesn't have that whole tin can sound. I have to take out this, I'll have to strip out this coating, whatever it is, and I'm gonna brute force it at first with a scraper, and then a putty knife and a heat gun. We'll see how it comes off. At the bottom of the doors, again, there's some rust, but it's not rusted through. So there we go. So we'll just we'll work with what we have. And let's see, more on the bottom. They're in great shape. You know, this gasket or seal will have to be replaced, but the door itself, rust is minimal. Passenger side door, for the most part, the same condition. Right down there, it looks wet. There was WD-40. Getting those door hinges off was a bear. I'll talk about that sometime. And really, the only spot on this door that's of concern is right here. There we go. So the top of the door, right where all the here, let me set this light here. Yeah, that's better. This pretty much rusted through, and that's a complicated area. Yeah, that's not easy. So when I say it's not easy, that's not going to be easy to weld. So I think I'll clean that area up as best as I can, and maybe just use some heavy-duty body filler, not necessarily Bondo. There are 3M owns Bondo, I think. It's one of their things, but they make other ones too that are heavy-duty, metallic. And I'll get that to match the driver's side. It's that's some delicate welding work right there that I like a challenge, but I also want this done right. Door hinges. Yeah, so that's that. So that's all I have to show for today. And I was thinking of trying to get this thing, you know what? I'm gonna try to get this thing started. The battery might be dead, but let's take a look. Tell you what, let's take this thing for a drive. I'm gonna let it warm up for a few minutes, and then we'll go for a drive. All right, so failed the test drive. Not a big deal. Might just be out of gas. Not really sure. It does run. You guys saw it run, that's great. And you know what? If the gas tank is empty, that's actually one less thing that I have to do, which is empty it when I take it out. So, not a bad thing. Anyways, feel free to subscribe, I guess. I'm gonna be putting up videos as I can. But I have some other this is not a full-time deal, a full-time job and a family. So it's I get out here whenever I can and do something. But next steps is just to continue taking things apart. And yeah, that's fun. So thanks for watching.